Tour guides of Reddit, what's the worst thing a tourist has ever done under your supervision? Former whitewater rafting guide. There's a calmer section of the river people can, if they choose to, hop out and swim through. They are wearing life jackets so you can just float through it. This woman decides she wants to try it and hops out. After she pops up, she slowly tilts forward until just the back of her jacket is out of the water and she's completely still. After 5 or so seconds of this, I start to realize this might not be intentional and paddle over and physically pick her head up above the water, followed by her gasping for air. I haul her in the boat and ask what happened. She said she didn't know what to do as she'd never been submerged in water before. 1. Why are you on a whitewater rafting trip? 2. Why didn't your strategy involve moving your body? I worked at a living history farm museum. I had a kid that was climbing on stuff the whole tour in the farmhouse and trying to get behind the smith in the blacksmith shop during a demo. After the tour, when people are allowed to roam the grounds, I hear his mom screaming and look over to the barn, and this kid has climbed the fence into the field with our longhorn oxen and is trying to poke them with a stick. I walk over and calmly told him to get out of the field before our lazy oxen decide they've had enough. But this jack-off decides to look me in the eye and smack Ted on the ass with the stick like it's a riding crop. Ted, bless him, just kinda jumps a little and whips his head around with a what the fuck dude look on his face. But seeing as he's a longhorn, he just wipes this kid out with one of his horns when he turned his head. Kid goes flying into the dirt and is having a meltdown. Mom is freaking out. I'm like, dude, get the hell out of the pen before Ted actually gets mad. So this kid is crying and trying to climb the fence out of the field, and Bill, who has been watching this whole thing, waits until the kid is almost over the fence and walks up to him and nudges him in the ass with his nose and pushes him off the top of the fence. It was everything I could do to keep from laughing. Kid was fine, Ted was fine, but the kid and his mom were promptly kicked out of the museum. Their dad and little sister were allowed to stay because she was well behaved and was just enjoying petting the goats at the petting zoo. So since the kid had to leave but his sister didn't, there was a temper tantrum in the parking lot that could be heard all the way to the other side of the farm. But the oxen got some extra grain that night, so I guess they won in the end. I work at a brewery tap room and take people on brewery tours. During fermentation, CO2 is produced and excess comes out through a runoff pipe and into a water bucket. One of the attendees, who was being a pain and trying to be funny but nobody was laughing, asked me what the pipe was for, so I gladly explained. He then asked what would happen if he breathed it in. In disbelief of his stupidity, I told him he would pass out, damage his brain. He then proceeded to grab the pipe and take a breath. He was then ejected and barred. Some people are just beyond belief. He must not have had a lot to worry about as far as brain damage goes. Can't get brain damage if I don't have a brain, points at abdomen. My cousin is a tourist guide and biologist. Most of his tours are in Africa. He instructed his group of 20 to 25 people, including kids, not to wear any type of earrings or collars, especially shiny stuff, since they were about to go into a thick forest to try to see a bunch of animals. This is very important because 20 to 25 make a lot of noise, which makes wild animals run away or hide. It's even worse if they're wearing shiny stuff they can spot from far away. Okay, so this woman complains, decides to wear shiny earrings anyway. Cousin tells her to get rid of them or she ain't coming with the group, so she obeys but puts them on a bit later. Some species of monkeys in that area love shiny stuff. They rip the earrings from her ears. Not a tour guide per se, park interpreter, but once had a lady with a thick New York accent try and pet a black bear. I was working on a tourist island in Australia when this man pulled out almost all the back feathers of a peacock because he wanted to keep one. He sneaked up behind it and grabbed a huge handful and yanked them all out. He was immediately escorted off the island. The peacock had a huge bare patch and most of its beautiful feathers were gone. I watched a man run up the side of the platform the winged victory statue is on in the Louvre and throw his arm around it for a photo. Security got him down pretty quickly. I'm shocked he actually made it up there. Friend of mine does tours of whiskey museums in Dublin. Someone took a shit in one of the exhibition rooms. I had a guest, snorkeling, try and grab the tail of a barracuda as he swam up behind it. Luckily, I was able to hit the guest with a dive fin from the boat to stop him before he got a hold. If he had grabbed on, I'm sure he would have been ripped to pieces by that fish. Technically not a tourist guide, but I was doing a tour of our production facility to some people from head office. As we got to one of the pallet outfeeds, I mentioned the light curtain, which was a safety feature that stopped the conveyors once the light was broken. And so for some damn reason one of the ladies decides to stick her hand through the light to test it, stopping the production line and also risking her safety by doing it in the first place. I asked her not to do that again and went about resetting the machine to start up again. No more than 3 seconds after doing so, she stuck her hand through the curtain again, stopping everything. She looked at me with the most stupid expression on her face as I basically said, "What the fuck?" To this day I don't know why she did it, or what her deal was. Chances are the first time round she wanted to see if it really worked. Second time round, you told her not to, so she did it 'cause you don't tell me what to do. Imagine being an 8-year-old in a 50-year-old woman's body. I'm in the middle of talking and someone's phone rings. Okay, that happens sometimes, and usually they just cancel the call or step outside. Nope, this guy answers the call and starts talking on the phone, only a few meters from where I'm standing. I think, oh, he'll just quickly explain he's busy and end the call. Nope. He starts a conversation. The rest of the group glare at him, and I'm put in an awkward position because my workplace put a huge emphasis on politeness. So I suggest to him to continue his call in the hallway, just outside the room we were in, to which he replied, "No, I'm fine here," and went back to his phone conversation. I'm doing my best to talk to the rest of the group, about 25 people, but he's so loud. Eventually this Chinese woman yells across the room at him, "Shut up, we want to listen to the lady, not you," which worked. But I just couldn't imagine the nerve to ruin everyone's experience like that. "'Cause you're too selfish to talk on the phone outside." I used to work at a heritage site. It was an old military installation with a lot of remaining original structures, bunk beds, cafeteria equipment, computers, etc. Every day it was a constant effort to remind people, read kids, not to jump on the beds, not to slam doors open, not to punch every button like it owes them money. The absolute worst was a group of kids on a school trip. Within the first 10 minutes we're walking through the tech portion of the exhibit, where we had a wall lined with Burroughs large systems machines, B5000s, all behind this little fence about waist high. I turned to demonstrate some of the pieces, and when I look back at the group, one of them had jumped over the barrier, opened one of the units, and started pulling out handfuls of digital tape from the reels inside. I just about jumped on the kid when their teacher did just that. She jumped the barrier, smacked the kid's hands, and took him outside. I immediately ended the tour and had them all refunded, as I couldn't imagine what else could happen. I used to give walking tours of old Vegas back in the day. During one ill-fated March afternoon I had a group consisting of a mother and son, a British couple, a pair from Indiana, and a middle-aged man from China. Long story short, the Chinese man dropped his trousers and took a shit right on the sidewalk in front of the Golden Nugget without saying a word and carrying on as if nothing had happened. I just read an article that said that Chinese tourists are considered to be the worst in the world. So much so that they now offer classes in China on how to be a polite tourist in another country. One lesson they give them is how it is considered impolite to relieve yourself in any place other than a bathroom. I couldn't believe that had to actually be taught, but apparently it does. Go figure. On an open-top tour bus in London, woman tries to dangle her toddler over the railing, then starts saying she's going to complain to my manager when I told her to stop. Caught her doing it again, and company policy said that anyone endangering their kids like that was to be removed from the tour, so the driver had to come up and march her off. She still insisted she did nothing wrong. Like, she literally had the kid's feet on the side rail of the moving bus and was just holding him loosely round the waist. One low-hanging tree branch, of which there were many on the route, and that kid was gone. Was at a reptile show and they let out some mini crocodile iguana type thing. I think it was called a dragon something. Anyway, some kid decides to take his shoe off and wiggle his toes through the small rope gate we were against. Presenter says, "Watch your kid, these will bite." Kid removes his foot and immediately puts it back in when presenter turns around, wiggles his toes again, and this dragon thing surges forward and clamps down. Kid starts screaming. Presenter just looks on like, "Well, I told you so," and removes it. The kid stops screaming, no one says anything, and presenter moves on. That's what you get for ignoring instructions, and also for not parenting properly. Not a tour guide, but I guess you could say I work in the tourism industry. I work ground crew for a company that does helicopter tours. Number 1 rule for customers is, don't walk under the tail boom. The rotor will kill you and it will hurt. It's unbelievable how many people have a death wish out there. People see the fastest way to the other side of the helicopter and don't stop to think, oh hey, that spinning blade may or may not slice my whole fucking head off. Let's see how close we can get to it. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.